I had too much ambition to retire, and I was too young to retire as well.
Hey, welcome to today's show. I'm excited to have DeBora Rachelle. DeBora Rachelle resides in Duluth, Minnesota in the summer and La Quinta, California in the winter. She is a serial entrepreneur who launched her first business straight out of college and soon after launched the first ever prom dress business online back in 1994. Seriously, when there were less than 3,000 websites on the entire internet. DeBora's creations have been featured in Cosmo, 17 Girl, in movies like 27 Dresses, and on red carpets seen around the world. After years of growing her highly successful prom dress business, DeBora received an offer she couldn't refuse and sold her company in 2009. At the age of 42, she put herself into retirement and focused on raising her son while supporting a few philanthropic businesses along the way. It was in 2017 that after being frustrated with bed sheets that didn't fit properly, DeBora set out to resolve the problem of the perfectly fitted bed sheet that was also eco-friendly, comfortable, and then in no time, a new business was born and she took herself out of retirement. DeBora is in the process of publishing her first book titled Boss Lady by Design. Potentially, that name might change. And she just recently launched her own podcast with the first episode already out and available to listen to. It will be all about business tips and advice, and I cannot wait to dig into our conversation today.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Awesome. So listen, we're going to talk a lot about sort of women in their 50s and reinventing. And I really today want to have a conversation on what it was like to balance motherhood with a career and how it's never too late to work on your passions or reinvent yourself. We talked about this before when we first met, that women who turn 50 can all sort of often feel intimidated or fearful of wanting more in our lives. And we spend so much time taking care of others that it feels totally unnatural to prioritize ourselves. It's a shame, especially when we should be feeling freer than ever before. Wanting more might mean returning to ambitions set aside years ago to raise a family or follow a spouse's career. It might also mean finding purpose or reaping long overdue success. So DeBora, what are your thoughts on women who put their desires on the back burner?
Well, I can totally understand how they feel, because women entrepreneurs have such a lot of guilt going on. We have our families, we have our husband, we try to do it all. We try to do it all. However, there's so many smart, intelligent women out there with great ideas that it's very, very sad that they're not pursuing their dreams. Whenever the guilt thing crossed my mind, I would always just try to remind myself what a great example I was setting for my child. And now that he's older, I can say I did the best I could, and it ended up being a great experience for him because I was setting a good example for him. And now that he's older and he's opened up his own business, I realized that it's all worth it. And he inherited my work ethic and my entrepreneurial sense. And the good thing is I have the ability now to answer any question he might come across, because now that he's actually in business, he has tons of questions as well. So it ended up being a good thing. But at the time, putting my son into daycare, that was quite a struggle for me, which I'm sure a lot of parents go through.
Exactly. I work with a lot of women who tell me that they don't really want to slow down or retire, but then we do, we've raised these kids and we've gotten this sort of sense of guilt. But so now that their kids are all sort of leaving and they're going off to college, lots of women have so much ambition. And they feel like maybe it's a little bit too early to retire, or they can now take themselves out of retirement like you did and say, hey, listen, I want to start another business. How do you, from your perspective, what are sort of the top 3 things that they could be thinking about that will help them sort of keep that confidence going and motivation to do it?
First of all, you have to love what you're doing. You have to love what you're doing, and that makes it not like work at all. It makes it just like taking a vacation. And secondly, you should never give up. No matter what you're doing, there's always a way to go about it, to find out what you need to do, how you need to get there. So never give up on your dream or what you want to do. And thirdly, do a lot of research on what you want to go into before you actually get out there and do it. And then shows like this, like your podcast, would be great to listen to and to hear what others are going through as well. So.
Exactly. So, DeBora, you spent so much time in the prom dress business, and then all of a sudden you came out of retirement to start a bedsheet company. Tell me give us the story, give us the goods on that.
Well, I felt like I was just, at the time that I retired, I made the mistake of signing a 10-year non-compete clause, which I really wish I wouldn't have. And anybody out there listening, if they have the opportunity to sell their company, just don't sign a non-compete clause, because you never know. That 10 years seemed like not very long to wait, but it was like an eternity for me. And I felt like I had so much ambition, and I had too much ambition to retire, and I was too young to retire as well. So you just need to, for me, it was all about finding what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get back into business. It was just a matter of waiting it out to finally be able to open up the doors to be able to start again. So
what process? So, you went from prom dresses to bed sheets to probably other businesses that you've got in your mind that you wanted to start. What process do you use to think about those business ideas or decide on which ones to really pursue? Like, how did you know you should pursue this bedsheet company?
Well, for me, it was, you always want to solve a problem. That's always a good product to have. And as an entrepreneur, I think a lot of women forget to just stop and think about what they're doing. They should stop and say, hey, I just used a butter knife to open that. What could I have done to, or, we're taking our high heels and hitting a nail on the wall or something. What could I have done to solve that problem? And that was kind of for me in the bedsheet idea. I was putting on bed sheets on my bed and they would not fit. I was struggling. I took 3 sets of sheets and threw them in the garbage. I'm like, what happened to these sheets? I thought, do all bed sheets shrink or what is it? So, and then I thought, I'm a designer. I can design a bed sheet that stays on my bed. And I did. I just got out some straps and sewed them on, and voila, they worked great for me. And then I was telling my girlfriends about my sheets, and they were just, oh my gosh, you got to make some for us. We're having the same problem, and on they would go. So we ended up, I ended up helping them out with their sheets. And then after a while, I thought, well, geez, my girlfriend, she has a son with PTSD, and he was constantly thrashing and having nightmares in the middle of the night. And just his bed sheets would like tangle him up. So I thought, there's really a reason for these sheets, and it has much more to do with just my bed sheets being put on my bed. I mean, these can actually help people. So I thought, I took the idea to Macy's, and they absolutely loved them. Macy's was one of my first big customers that placed an order with me when I had my prom dresses. And so I took them to them, and they said, we love them. We love the idea. We'll put them on our website right away. But, we need more than just bed sheets to kick out another vendor. You need to have more than bed sheets. So I started thinking, okay, well, the typical thing that goes with a bed sheet would be a duvet cover. Yeah. And so I made the typical duvet with the buttons at the bottom, and I tried to get in there, and my hair would end up a mess. And, those duvets are like awful to, I don't know if you have a duvet, but you can't like get the duvet inside the duvet covers. I thought I'm a designer. I could do this. So I put zippers on the sides and flipped down the top, put the duvet in, and attach the corners so it wouldn't come out of place, and zip up the sides, flip over the pocket, and voila, you got a duvet now that you don't have to struggle to get into. So that's kind of the thought process that went through my mind. It's just like when you get to a problem, you have to stop and just think, hey, I can solve this, and can others use it?
Exactly. And there's so much that I want to break down on that whole conversation. Like, first of all, you used previous skills that you had in the past that, you've brought forward those skills into something new, which is awesome. Your designer skills, your sewing skills. And then just sort of that, it sort of feels like everything was all about just a minimal viable product, right? Sometimes we think, oh, everything has to be super perfect and it needs to be this way before I can launch something. But it sort of sounds like your process has evolved. And the third piece too was that you built on previous relationships that you had, like with the Macy's, you had a previous relationship with them, you touched base with them again, and you reached into that. So, you're using skills, you weren't worried about perfection, you were just getting it out there, and you were building on relationships. And I think those are three things that everybody who could be listening to this, any woman over there, anybody, but specifically women in their 50s who are looking to maybe do a little bit of a reinvention, or, how do I take, my project management skills and bring that into something new? And that's kind of how easy really kind of it is. You just, you've got the experience. It's a matter of just finding, and like you said, taking it and using that to apply against solving the problem. So I think it's wonderful. So what gives you so much confidence? Because there'll be many blockers that people will face that prevent them from making progress. So what are the sort of blockers, those little voices in your mind that come to you? And what do you do, DeBora, to stop them from, stalling you?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, age has a lot to do with it. I think we're a lot more confident at 50 than I was at 24. And we've been through so much and been able to work with customers in the past that we've figured it out. You just have to take those skills from our age that we are now and be able to use them and to try to do your best, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, before we come to an end, I want to just rapid fire 3 sort of questions at you, and just first response. So what is the first thing you do in the morning?
What's the first thing I do in the morning?
Yeah.
I like to get up and read a book now that I have the time. It was never something I could do when I was working in my 20s, but now I like learning from others, and I like hearing what they have going on in their lives. So I'm all about biographies and things like that. So
awesome. And what is the one thing you want people to know about you?
The one thing I want people to know is if they're, I guess for me, knowing going into business, and I want others to have the confidence to be able to go into their business too. And you can never fail. You can never fail. Just give it all you got and go for it. And it's a learning experience either way. So, I never surrender.
That's awesome. I love it. And if you had to go back and give your 30-year-old self some advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, don't sell your business. You're doing fine. My business is doing fabulous. Obviously, that's why somebody came out to buy it. But I think for me, it was always like it becomes a part of you. It's like your baby. It becomes who you are and what you're doing and what you're all about. And for me, I think that was a tough thing. I always thought, oh geez, why did I do that? But then at the time I was thinking I can always go back into business, but 10 years later, it's not that it's not easy to go back into business. It's just that you have to start over from the beginning again.
Right.
But it is easier to do because now you know the mistakes that you've made in the past, and it's easier to get there faster.
Awesome. Well, DeBora, I just want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. We are now at the end of the broadcast. So I just, again, thank you for joining us. I love your ambition. I love your motivation. If people wanted to check you out a little bit further, where can they find you?
At DeBoraRachelle.com, or we are now doing a new website for businessfashiontips.com for the podcast.
So it's called businessfashiontips.com?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, DeBora, thanks again. And I look forward to having you on the show again.
Thanks.